Hello, this is my submission to Tim's Talkies list of the top 25 films of the 80s. Well, I know everybody else is going to be just saying all the ones that, and they're all just gonna sound the same, like all of them, and that's fine. But I would say everybody has a top 25, but I have even though I do have 25 that I could say, I'd say I have a top four of the most iconic and important films of the 80s. And that is, well, at least to me, and I'll tell you why. Number one, definitely is The Lost Boys for reasons everybody else has said, but I love it because of the soundtrack and all the other reasons everyone else has probably said by now. But my second pick happens to be Splash. Definitely, definitely, definitely my second favorite of the 80s. On certain nights, I'd say my number one, but most of the time, I'd say that's my second favorite of the 80s. Even though, yes, there are times when it is my number one favorite. I'd say it fluctuates between the hours. Mm. But but then the but then my third favorite of the 80s happens to be The Little Mermaid. It's iconic, it's awesome, and nobody no nobody does it like the original does. The voice of Prince Eric, I believe, nails it better than the sequel and the uh, and the remake. Sebastian is better in the original. Flounder is better in the original. Ursula better in the original. Everybody is better in the original of The Little Mermaid. But I'd say my fourth, and this may surprise you. This may surprise you, but it is Prancer. Yep, Prancer is my fourth favorite, most iconic film of the 80s. Yes, we had films like The Year Without a Santa Claus. We had that one with, I believe, Dudley Moore. He tried to be Santa Claus, and we had other different films. And out of all the Christmas films in the 80s, besides the Mother Christmas Carol, um, that I believe was 91 or 93, but the my favorite of the 80s would have to be the Prancer. That's my favorite Christmas film of the 80s. Yep. Well, I hope you like my list because it's at least the most important ones. I mean, everybody has a top 25, but you have to reach into your heart sometimes and think which ones of this decade mean the most to you. And if my place was on fire, I would grab those, especially if it was around this time of the year. But yeah, because as I said in a previous stream, I would grab my top 25 of the 90s. So I'd say So I would say I would probably I probably would have my top 25 of the 90s and my favorites I just listed from the 80s and maybe a box or a backpack or something. Probably a big old box. I think, yeah. I think, everybody says that, you know, what would you grab if your house was on fire? I'd say I would definitely put all these favorites in a box, at least my duplicates of these films, and for later, for if my place ever catches on fire, if there's ever a tornado, when I'm not when I'm not watching Twister, like if somehow I've packed all my copies of Twister and we get a Twister and it wipes out part of the town, I'll definitely grab my box of my answers from the top 25 90s films and this list. Yep. After this stream, I'm probably going to start packing that box just in case. Because you never know. In a world where Marvel shows turn out the way that they do, and the state of the MCU is how it is, we all better have that box ready. You know what I mean?